So my involvement at the Jaipur Literature Festival has been for more than a decade now. And first, of course, as a visitor, but since 2012, we've actually been doing the fine arts here. So, right now you would have seen the Aladobai painting, a large installation work that is at the Darbar Hall area, and the accompanying video was about that. Similarly, there's Abhishek Singh making a large mural-sized canvas here, which is another live installation. So our commitment to the indigenous arts goes in very closely with Teamwork Arts and the Jaipur Literature Festival. In 2015, we together formed the Ojas Art Award, which is a homage to the indigenous artists. And it was a way for us to create databases and to get artists and recognize them and to give them a platform. I have a small PPT over those. Since 2015, a lot has happened in the contemporary indigenous art space, and I just wanted to share a few highlights of what happened in the year that just went by. I have a brief PPT presentation that I'll take you through. So to begin with, I would like to express my gratitude and thanks to Professor B.N. Goswami, who is no more with us, but this session would be incomplete without mentioning him because he was always a constant source of inspiration. Every year at the festival, he would interact with the artists who were here, and he would always find out what was happening and how he could help. We all greatly miss Professor B.N. Goswami. Thank you, sir, for all that you've done for us. He was a part of our award ceremonies on various occasions. And that's Mayur and Tushar Vaida, also Ojas Art awardees at the Jaipur Literature Festival in 2019. Yeah, this would be. Thank you. So, this is the India Art Architecture Design Binale video that you just saw. That is something that has been put together by the Ministry of Culture, and it goes on at the Red Fort till the end of March. And this has been a very, very great experience. And also there's been a great inclusion of the indigenous arts with the modern and contemporary masters. And I got the opportunity to curate this 10,000 square feet section at the Red Fort. So anyone, if you're there in Delhi, please go try and catch it. It will be worth your time. This is again, we had artists coming in from Madhya Pradesh to do live murals. So we've created about a 20,000 square foot live painting on the premises. Works by masters like Manjeet Bawa, J. Swaminathan, alongside works by indigenous artists. It's quite a stunning display, if I may say so myself. And it gives us a great opportunity to have placed the works together alongside masters' works and help in elevate the category. This is a work by our artists Mayur and Tushar Vaida. And the reason it's up on screen is because this year, this work was acquired by the Philadelphia Museum of Art, and they are coming together for a big seminal show later next year, and they will be the stars of that show. So I'm very happy and proud to show these works. Again, India Art Fair, Art Mumbai, regular participations by the gallery to support and showcase our artists there in a mainstream way. Right now, you would have noticed there's the big mural that Abhishek Singh is doing, and I see heads nodding. So I think that's what people are here mainly for, to hear Abhishek and Sanjoy in conversation about the artwork that Abhishek has created here. So I shall now invite Abhishek and Sanjoy to be on stage to talk about this beautiful and very meaningful work called Elephants Can Fly, and the mythology behind it and what Abhishek is creating. Thank you. Thank you very much for all your support and being here.
Thank you all, and thank you Anubhav Nath. Anubhav Nath is our curator of art at Teamwork Arts, not just for the Jaipur Literature Festival, but for everything else that we do, and we also run the Friends of Music and the Under the Banyan Tree on a Full Moon Night in their beautiful gallery space in Delhi, 1AQ, where he also puts up some fabulous art displays. One of the few people who sort of focused on traditional art forms has been Anubhav, and that's how the Ojas Art Award came to be here at the Jaipur Literature Festival. We were very clear that that's one of the things that we wanted to focus on, create platforms for the kind of art that otherwise you wouldn't have access to. It's the last day of the festival, so I think we're all calming down and it's sort of winding down, and what better way to wind down than with Abhishek. Abhishek's work, as you can all see, is really out of the extraordinary and out of the ordinary, and certainly not based on anything on the ground. And Abhishek, what sort of triggered the thing of wanting to do such works around mythical figures and beasts? And your earlier book, Namaha, which may be available, I think, in the bookstore, you'll see, and we're going to show you some images on the screen as well. Abhishek starts with wonderful imagery of the gods and goddesses and mythological figures.
Thank you for a very lovely introduction, and I can see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd, so thank you for showering the love on the painting outside. Very, very humbling, and an honor to be in a conversation with you and to be introduced by a fellow friend, Anubhav, who's been a fellow wayfarer across the journey, and so thank you for having me here and do that. I was always fascinated by animals because of one very simple reason, because I felt that human beings are sort of stuck in the middle. And, we are sort of, we can't really go very high in the altitude in the mountain, and we can't really go very deep in the ocean. And if you want to explore these realms and these lokas, these worlds, then you have to make friends with animals. So I felt, as a child, that if I make friends with the whales, I can explore the ocean where human beings can't really go unless you have a friend there. It's like visiting a city somewhere, right? I have a friend across the globe somewhere in a country or even in India, and you make plans to visit each other and explore those places. So that's what I felt as a child, that if I make friends with an elephant, I can explore. Also, I realized when I actually worked with the elephants that before you explore anything else, you actually explore a lot of food, right? But with whales is the ocean, with elephants and creatures is the jungles, and all sorts of other things. They know a secret language of nature, so if you are more interested, and if they like you, they may actually, seed some things in you which may permeate as something else later on.
Your first experience with an elephant was actually in an elephant shelter.
First experience in my adult life, yes, because I always loved nature, and somehow it has been part of my work. And oftentimes we don't really realize that, although I was celebrating it, but without knowing much about it, and it really hit me hard to kind of one day find myself in a moment where I don't know what kind of life they're living in this world, the elephants, because I was using them in these fantastical stories, but I really did not know where they are in the world, what kind of life they're living, as I said before. So I made a promise to myself. I was in the mountains when this was happening, and I said I'm going to go and try to find them and seek them and work with a few organizations who are working in conservation, but also in the informal sector. And the first elephant I worked with was in the informal sector. Actually, it was in Jaipur. And I would walk with the elephant every day from the Hathi Gaon here to Amer Fort, actually, every day. And the Mahawat asked me to, ride on the elephant, and I refused. I said, I'm learning to walk again with them. And on the last day, I remember, which is very emotional for me, because I could see my, a similar sensibility of my grandmothers and my dadi and my nani in that elephant. So I would call her nani or dadi. And I realized when nani and dadi has passed away, after many years, I have not even spoken that word, so I spoke it to the elephants. And they taught me things I would have otherwise not learned.
And much of that, you now sort of use your canvas to sort of show how an elephant is not necessarily a beast of the earth, but it's a beast outside.
Absolutely, because there is our own biased perception of the elephants or the natural world, because perhaps we don't find that sort of education, in a more obvious way around. But when you tell people that, for instance, elephants not supposed to walk on the concrete road, they get arthritis or they develop abscess, or they're not supposed to be captive animals. They're supposed to be in nature because they understand this secret language of nature. They can call the rain if there is fire on the forest, and they can break the branches if the little animals and the microbes are hungry. So they play a very vital role in the ecology of Mother Earth. And a lot of those things we just don't know for various reasons. So yes, it was enlightening, and I think it reinvigorated my way of approaching the content of my work, because I felt that it needs to showcase this at the front of it and still make it interesting. So yes.
The tortoise also forms a very important part of this new storytelling that you have.
Tortoise, in a mythological sense, has been a symbol of the five senses. So if you control it, you make wise choices, so it lives a long life. But that does not speak about its beautiful oceanic nature or the botanical nature that as a turtle or a leatherback turtle, there was a kid asking what kind of turtle it is, and I loved that because they want to know the specifics on top of which I'm building. So I said all these tortoises and turtles, they know the ocean currents like we know roads and we have our own cars, but they are the drivers, of these ocean currents, and they know these pathways, these etheric, invisible pathways inside the ocean. So does the birds in the sky.
And turtles also represent timelessness. It represents eternity. It represents something that the earth rests on.
Who else more elegant to do that? I guess we took to nature as at least symbolism being used in socio-cultural framework, because we felt they were closer to that source than perhaps we are. So we are learning through nature about nature, and that's always been a point of reference for humanity. For instance, a tiger, when it cannot hunt, goes to a lake or a river and leaves his body. Elephant realizes that's about to die, so that premonition, because of that premonition, it walks towards the place of a common place where they all leave their bodies, and that's samadhi. There is yam, niyama, all the 8 limbs of yoga you can find very easily in the animal and in the natural world. There is a certain order. They don't take more than what they require. They are interconnected with each other. They have a sense of routine. All these things are there.
And do you see a reflection of yourself in these animal wonderful images? I remember in one of the last solo exhibitions that he opened at Ojas not so long ago, he was standing next to one of his works, and I turned around and I said, the baby elephant had the exact expression that he has.
I think we all are baby elephants in the embrace of a big mother elephant, and I give them sometimes names I get in my dreams or whatever I'm reading. Between friends, I'm a little bit of a snow leopard from the mountains. Anubhav is my elephant friend. So there is that, morphing of this love towards nature, even amongst like each other in interpersonal relationships, yes. But I'm not trying to portray myself there. I'm rather learning from what I'm trying to portray there, which is animals, and trying to learn from that spirit.
Most artists prefer to be in a place of solitude, a comparative solitude, and as you do up in the mountains for a lot of the time. And yet here today, as you've done in Varanasi on the Ghats, you've created this imagery on this enormous canvas in a very public space. Is that difficult? Is that a different process?
There is a certain spontaneity, yes. But I think that I would probably express this from the analogy of music. That if you've done your riyaz, and from the song you have gotten to the raga, and if you've practiced the raga, and that will help you if you just are next to the river and you find yourself in a moment to offer a song to the river. So your riyaz is backing your feeling in that moment, and the feeling will be unhindered as an offering when you do that.
In many ways in today's day and age, we're always fighting with nature and our environment. And, yesterday, for example, and even though much of our plans were well in advance, nature then takes over. And we forget that at the end of the day, the power of nature is so incredible.
Absolutely, it has always been so. Although, and I think a lot of people who live closely with nature, and there are many who I met here who are very close to nature, and living in nature is quite difficult because we are a society in a sort of a spot, in a point in timeline, human development, where we are used to certain civilizational comforts. We are a society which also can control its temperature, for instance. It can climate control a lot of things. Airports are climate controlled, malls are climate controlled. And there is a type A civilization which can control a bit of its climate, probably eventually even atmosphere and things like that from a scientific perspective. But it's often hard to negotiate with nature. So it's all about negotiated balances there and learning to survive along with it. That's why you need to know which plant can heal you if a snake bites you. So yes, there is a love for nature, but if you end up in Amazon, your chances of probably dying by an insect bite is very high. So you have to really know the knowledge of survival there. But exactly probably that, if we bring it in combination with technology, I think today we can access it far more in a far more better way than we could have done before.
A colleague of ours in the office who much of these wonderful mnemonics and designs are done by Ojas. And I remember many years ago I was asking him something, and it was his first solo exhibition, and I went to buy some of his work, and I said, "Who's your inspiration?" And he said, "Abhishek." And at that point of time I didn't know Abhishek at all. Much later I met Abhishek through Anubhav. What is the first thing that you drew? And at which point of time did you realize that this was going to be your passion, your work, your life, and your livelihood maybe?
Intuitively, because we are all playful in the beginning and there's no compartmentalization. This is what I like, and hopefully this will become my profession. So I think in the beginning is always a playful relationship with what you love. I think as an adult, you kind of choose it again if you have the courage. And that courage is, I guess, derived by that you just love something so much, or maybe it's going to give you a life you have visualized in your head. Either is a kind of a motivational milestone to kind of move forward to. But as I said, I was always fascinated by the idea that I'm here on this planet for a very short while. We all are, and the experience of the planet is. If I just talk to a tree told me that the experience of this planet is breathing to no air, water to explore water. Even if it's raining, just be in it. It goes in you. You can drink it. You can splash it on your friend. You can go inside the ocean with some gear and explore that. Then food, which I guess is probably the most celebrated exploration in the human kingdom, and sleep, dreaming, and sexuality. These are the 5 tenets of the principalities of exploring, if you want to explore different dimensions of life. And I just want to explore some of those dimensions one way or another, sneak my way, make it a career, not make it a career. There's no creative agenda. Sometimes art is incidental, sometimes art enables me to explore it. So it's somehow, yeah, that's how I'm hoping to move through the world. And one day, like everyone else, I'll go, but this is the experience to be here, to be passing through this beautiful, beautiful planet. I'm in love with this.
Can we show some of the presentation? So, if you see his original work, this of course is the snow leopard work that you're seeing up in the mountains.
Yeah, we saw them for 3 days out of 11, but this is one of the trails where we saw them.
Where exactly was this, Abhishek?
This is in Rumbak Valley in Leh Ladakh. But these are trails we trek. This is Susie, my favorite blind elephant. She loves the watermelon soup. So in the last 10 years, my real skill I have acquired is to cut watermelons at ninja speed. So yeah, and that's Asha. She passed away. And I call them Nani and Dadi because when I lost them, I did not call anyone Nani Dadi, and when I saw them I was like, oh, my Nani and my Dadi, I saw them in this. I think for me the most...
Does Nani and Dadi get on, or is it...
No, they are very good friends. They're very good friends. Susie misses Asha a lot. Yeah, that's me in the mountains. This is the only time I think I took a video.
Love and prayers to everyone.
I think for me also what happened that the idea of delocalizing our connections, which is, yes, I say this is my mom, this is my father, but also I touch the feet of a tree. I'm not going to say go and hug a tree because there are microbes living on it, many things. Just go be gentle with it. Just have the sensitivity, have the samvedana to interact with it. Don't take a selfie. Don't, whatever emotion you're feeling, don't broadcast it right away. आप उस भाव को अपने अंदर गहरा उतरने दें. जब गहरा उतरेगा तो गीत बनेगा. गीत जब बन जाए तो ब्रॉडकास्ट करिए.
If you look at his previous work, let me open up. You'll see much of the gods and goddesses and mythology has been done in radiant colors. Much of the animal kingdom that you do today, especially we've seen out there, is in black and white, is in monochrome. What's the difference, and how do you sort of negotiate between one and the other, and how do you understand at which point of time do you imbibe which or imbue which with which color and which energy?
So for lots of birds, it's not black and white, because my audience is nature. जिस सूत्र से वो कला आ रही है और मेरे अंदर से जो अभिव्यक्ति हो रही है उस कला की, मैं उस कला को वापस समर्पण कर रहा हूँ प्रकृति की तरफ. आई एम ऑफरिंग इट बैक टू द सोर्स. सो आई एम क्रिएटिंग इट फॉर द सोर्स. व्हेन आई लुक्ड कि कृष्ण ने किसके लिए बांसुरी बजाई, प्रकृति के लिए बजाई. शिव किसके लिए उन्होंने नृत्य किया, उन्होंने प्रकृति के लिए किया. तो आई फेल्ट दैट एनी आर्टिस्टिक एक्टिविटी in the most sacred sense should be an offering back to nature. So my audience are trees and birds, so they, when they look at black and white, because they read the electromagnetic field differently, they will look at it as in color or with a different spectrum of color, or with actually elephants may not even, because they're short-sighted, they may not even look at my painting, but they can feel the sound of my brush tapping the canvas. It'll be a musical composition for them the way they will perceive it. So, but black and white are two philosophical colors. One absorbs all the light and one reflects all the light, so it's a dance between them. All the lines are just creating this illusion that this painting exists in this moment of time.
And what energy are you? Animal kingdom, Shivji? I mean, you are such a Shiv Bhakt in many ways.
I am Bhakt of the Hathis. मेरा गिफ्ट ही इस दुनिया का यही है कि हाथियों ने मुझे अपने सेक्रेट स्पेस में इनवाइट किया. ये सारी मैंने ड्राइंग्स बनाई हैं, ठीक है, पर उनका जब गोबर मैंने तसले पे सर पे उठाया तो वहाँ पे मुझे जो रियलाइजेशन हुआ इस प्लैनेट के बारे में, फॉर मी दैट इज़ द रियल गिफ्ट. सो आई एम फ्रॉम द एलिफेंट नेचर. मैं जीव जंतुओं के लोक से हूँ. ह्यूमन लोक में भ्रमण करने आया हूँ. थोड़ी बहुत यहाँ की भाषा समझ लेंगे, यहाँ के सोशियो पॉलिटिकल इश्यूज समझ लेंगे, पर हम तो बरसात में नाचेंगे जब तक थोड़ा बहुत जिंदगी है, जब तक हाथ पैर चल रहे हैं, जैसे हमारी दादी बोलती थी. And that's the real gift of this life. We get too caught up in socio-political, cultural issues. I'm a big student of history as well. I try to consciously read about, all kinds of other subjects. But when it rains, I will put everything aside and I will just go and get drenched in it. या मैं तो उछल जाता हूँ पानी के अंदर, या फिर पहाड़ में आप जा रहे हैं, so you become a little, you need to celebrate the wilderness inside. We don't do that often.
Tell us a little bit about where you're from, your background. How did you grow up? Where did you grow up? Was your grandparents, parents involved in the arts? How did that sort of kala come to you?
There was no, I think in that time no one made the distinguished thing, no one made the distinction between this is art and this is art as a profession, this is art as a hobby. I think it was just all part of some small cultural thing. My nani was a fourth pass but became an assistant surgeon. She went to New Zealand. वहाँ पे उन्होंने I think pancake खाए होंगे तो वापस आके बोलती हैं New Zealand के मालपुए बहुत अच्छे हैं. So and she was this worldly woman, very inspiring. उन्होंने अपने हिसाब से अंग्रेजी सीखी. वहाँ से मुझे इंस्पिरेशन आई कि भाई भाषा सीख लो इस दुनिया में, कि शब्द को किस तरीके से बोलना है, जोड़ना है. And language आप जब सीखेंगे तो you can actually express yourself in at another level and communication becomes even more richer. My dadi came from a more, she was from Bharatpur actually, from Rajasthan, and she was full of these fables and the tradition, but she was a feminist who was kind of reimagining the tradition, so she would do Govardhan Puja, and हम सब लोग गोबर इकट्ठा करते थे और बहुत बड़ा सा माउंट बनाते थे. For us it was just play. And my dada, interestingly, he was a very progressive person. He was from a village. He did his education. He was an ADM. And I was close to all the grandparents. क्योंकि ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स जब इंसान बनता है तो जब तक उसका सारा अहम उसके हड्डियों से लीक हो चुका होता है so they are probably distilled version of themselves and they have more wisdom and they want to give it to someone, so I get passively I
Which
got
is
it.
the reason why Sudha Murthy is everybody's nani, is it?
Perfect, exactly. Absolutely, yes. She asked me to draw her dog as well in the picture I made for her, like, please draw Gopi in it. So that was very cute. And so my dada, one of the incidents I will recall, I've shared this with Anubhav as well, he would be called to kill man-eater tigers or leopards. So one of the things, because if a tiger eats a human being, after that there's no going back. I mean, like, why not? You know, I mean, like, should be something which should be mandatory even today.
Tasty, do you think? A nice grill?
I don't know about taste, but I think the thrill of it, that there has to be some balance, no? So why not a tiger eating us? We have killed 200, 300 tigers just because a kill wanted to impress some delegate coming from other country. That's why I don't make my elephants being ridden by kings or any of the royalties. I'm a pretty anti-establishment person there. So, anyway, he killed one tiger for these villagers. They gifted him the skin of the hide of the tiger, and it was there in our living room there. And he never felt right about it. And when I came of age, I told him, you killed this such a beautiful creature. Like, it's like meeting the tiger for the first time. I don't know it's going to eat me. I was just mesmerized as a kid. That's such a beautiful creature. And he felt that it's not, yes, it's a beautiful creature, that yes, he killed him, but the glani he had, and that the elegance to conduct yourself in the death of something so majestic, that is something we have forgotten. We get off on this bravado of that, हमने उस हाथी को मार दिया, हमने इस शेर को मार दिया. But even if we have to kill a man-eater tiger, which becomes also dangerous for their own tribe, it becomes dangerous for the jungle also. But there's a certain elegance you show because a majestic creature is leaving this world, you know. This amazing prani, जो इस जगत का बच्चा था, this is leaving. So you show that elegance. So there's these snippets I remember from that time, although all of them are gone, and probably I find their essence in all the animals of my life. And that's why I said this whole world is, I genuinely believe it. This whole world I'm connected to. And there's a kid who asked me that question, that ये हाथी के ऊपर से तो पेड़ नहीं उगता, ऐसा तो मैंने देखा नहीं है. There is no elephant I've seen which has a tree coming out of their head. I said, that's absolutely a perfect observation. But what do you take from the tree? Like, I take oxygen. What do you give back to the tree? Like, I give carbon back. So you connect it. Like, yes. So I said, what is invisible in our world becomes visible in the dimension of the painting. That's what we are celebrating in the painting. And the world of the painting is far truer. It's the truth. That's the truth. We are one. We are connected. You just don't experience it in this reality of separation. That is why poetry is important. That is why art's important. That is why art and poetry should be a civilizational pursuit, not something capitalistic. That it is sacred in its inherent essence, you know.
One of the first, I think, in Namaha, and I could be wrong, one of the first images is actually of this tiger, or a creature like a tiger, in a fairly aggressive posture, but confronting a man who, through his energy, calms and stops the tiger. Is that in Namaha in the beginning?
It's there in many stories. I've made my tiger a yogi now, and my tiger has always been a yogi, but all the symbolism of yoga I've put on the animals, because I'm kind of bored with human beings sitting and portraying themselves that they have mastered some great meditation techniques. Nature is innately meditative. It's when you go to a mountain, what are you doing? When you're going up the mountain, you're like taking a breath in, holding it, and exhaling. That's pranayam. When you take a dubki, what do? You take a big swig and you go inside the water, you hold it and you come out and you exhale. That's pranayam. That's alom vilom. The point to interact with nature, you become, the interaction itself is yogic. And you may not know it. You may not know the terminologies per se. So yes, all the tigers who, as you said, have become the instructors and the storytellers and the travelers in my new stories. Yes.
Because you talked about poetry, before we open it up for questions, Would you like to read from this, or do you want to do something that
We
you...
can maybe read one of your favorite ones if they have the presentation, if they can go all the way to the end.
Can you go all the way? Yeah.
All the way to the end.
So just see some of these. So this is some of the ones on the gods and goddesses and the... Oh, धीरे 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 धीरे.
No, you can maintain that pace because we are short on time, so we can just go to the... This is someone... What I love about art and drawing is also that the point you put that brush on the canvas or that pen on paper, you become silent. Silence comes as a bonus with any kind of artistic activity where you are at least drawing. So everyone should draw just to become silent. These are from the real snow leopards. And the day we didn't find, I had to do one on the snow. This one we saw. This is when I had not seen them, I drew it, so my wish came true. This is giving baths to the elephant. And they have to really like you. And like you in a way that each time you go, if they like you, the signal is you don't have to give them anything to eat, right? Because it's very easy. An elephant loves to get some treats, but if they just interacting with you without treats, that means they really like you. And I got to know the stories of the caretakers as well, the conservationists, people who are doing this kind of work, which is, this is Tulsi Gowda. She's the encyclopedia of the forest, one of the most inspiring people. She's like my celebrity, like this is my hero. These are my heroes in the human world. This is Shalu Marda Timmakka. She's planted an entire banyan tree. उन्होंने पूरा एक बरगद का forest लगा दिया. So for me, these stories should travel. This is Rani Bai Popre, Seed Mother, which she's called the Seed Mother. So I wanted to put these stories out, so I put them on my social media, Instagram, so it can reach people, new age people as well. These are just some travel sketches. We can move. And yes, on the canvas, children are allowed to draw. So that's always wonderful. It just flows through them. You know, it's just one river which is creating through us. Although I drew 3 animals for these 3 children, I drew an elephant, a cheetah, and a tiger, and one kid started to cry. And I said, why are you crying? He's like, because my animal is slower. So I had to draw a 4th one. He's like, what do you want me to draw? He's like, I want you to draw a dragon. We can go, this is the new project. So all this, which I talked about, it motivated me to create a completely new mythology. So I felt, what if elephants would have had their mythology? What would be that like? What would that be like? So I've been working on this project, which is a mythology of an ancient earth where animals are our characters, storytellers, and that's what me and Anubhav did together this year. And these are all world mothers. It's happening at a time where everything is just cosmic, eternal waters. And a lot of these paintings have scientific titles, or science is very much part of it, that there's a phylogenetic tree or botanical aspects, because I also want to celebrate the scientific literature which we have created in the last 20, 30 years. And of course, celebrating beautiful human emotions, because I think the other thing to life is people you love, people you protect, which is pretty common between the human and the animal world. I think it's after this, yes. Can we move a few more slides? Oh, with the donkey. He's my best friend from Ladakh. Yes, this one. Yes. So it's called I'll See You Again.
Agla.
Okay, after I've asked the earth how she endures the scars, the wars, and still gives us rains and flowers. how forgiveness chooses to always heal our hearts, and that there is no bigger miracle than love. When the, when the sky would call upon me once again, when I have roots instead of wings which would still remember to fly, we would have moved, lived, come back, returned and merged across the many ripples of time. I would have known you in all forms and in no forms too. You would know it's me because it'll bring a shower of smiles to you. I'll see you again.
Beautiful. Questions, and we'll take them in bunches. So, do we have mics?
Thank you. Hi, and thank you for this opportunity.
Just hold it closer, please.
Is it better? Splendid. So I've been very curious about how different civilizations and cultures have a relationship with different animal and insect iconography, like the Egyptians and the Beatles. The whole concept of the world turtle, or be it Terry Pratchett imagining like the entire world being balanced on 4 elephants, or how we in India associate with dogs. So what I wanted as your opinion or as your finding, what do you think is spoken when different cultures associate different meanings and symbology with different animals? And do you feel the projection of our belief that we place on a particular animal or insect influences our sustainability and ethical practices for that particular culture?
Sustainably and
Thank
ethical
you.
practices for that particular culture. The gentleman in the front, right here. Yeah, just take the mic.
Thank you, sir. Your talk was amazing. I just want to make a comment before going to my question.
Question, please.
All right, sure. I'll go to the question. I think this is the best way to do like climate activism, right? Like I just fell in love with nature all over again. My question is, how do you feel about the concept of spirit animals? Is there sort
Thanks.
of, yeah.
So
all right.
spirit animals and of course animals in terms of countries and how they are associated with stories.
So with the spirit animals, one is the animal is for real. वो जीवित है, उसे आत्मा में उतारना है. You have to bring it to your spirit, inside your spirit. Let it reside in your spirit. That is how it becomes a spirit animal. In a fantastical way, you can celebrate it in whatever personal form you like. There is no, constraint there. But if your spirit animal is, let's say, a mix of animal, like an elephant or a lion, right? Then know those animals because they do exist in this world, and hopefully, if you're lucky, you'll get to meet them. And if you meet them, you can do something for them through people who are working for them. So I think it should kind of have a little bit more continuity than just a game of what's your spirit animal. It should generate empathy in the end, and it should generate a true connection with nature and those animals. Yes, the civilizations across timeline have had a lot of animal nature iconography, insects, as you said, for Egyptians. I think, but when we look at those cultures, and this has been my big question as well, as a swan is the soul. Tiger is courage. You put chocolate between two friends, chocolate becomes friendship. You get it? So is chocolate friendship? Or friendship something else. So that's why the job of a storyteller, because storytellers are people who are doing these, who are expressing a certain civilization at a certain given time. They have to be very responsible that yes, there is an allegorical use of nature in our literature, but also nature in itself has certain attributes, right? For instance, a story of a crocodile and an elephant, and the crocodile, grabbing the leg of an elephant. But do you know that if you go to a jungle, the elephant will seek a place, a pond where the crocodile lives, because the crocodile will live in fresh water in a mangrove. And crocodiles are the most compassionate creatures. It will save everyone if it's a flood around. And they don't have this kind of a relationship, or the monkey and the jamun story, right? That, I want to eat the heart, how sweet will that be? So these are myths we can transcend in today's time, right? So I think celebrating nature as it is, and then on top of that, adding layers which can exalt it, which can actually expand that introspection, expand a certain journey of connecting back with it.
Any questions on this side of the room? So, right at the back, yeah. And then the
Hi.
gentleman in the red after that.
Hi, I have a question. Seeing AI taking over all the young minds, how far do you think imagination related to fable and such things that you are giving to the world, people or the young minds will relate to it?
AI and imagination and the gentleman in the red.
Hey, hi Abhi. Good to see you talking about again. I have a simpler question. In many of your pictures, there's a thing in the heart, in the God form. What it
What does it
defines?
mean? Okay.
What does it mean?
Even you wanted to ask a question. If this, she can get the mic. She's been like the
Go ahead.
woman here. You, yes, you, ma'am. Yeah. She was raising her hand. She was raising it for a very long time.
Sorry, I didn't see that. Sorry.
Oh no, that's all right. I'll forgive you. My question might be a little bit in the same as the first lady, but I'll probably articulate it slightly differently. Which is, how do you view the opposition of digital media, not in the regards to like Instagram, but actually the experience of advanced technology creating new forms of art? How do you view you as an artist and your psyche in your emotional, spiritual, or existence in opposition to that development?
So AI, although it's a much wider conversation, a brief answer which can make you think a little bit more about that, subject is, it's still raining, you can go out and play in it. And that's nothing to do with AI. I'm more concerned with that, one. Second, yes, these changes have happened before, automation has come, it's replaced a lot of things. It's going to happen, technology is fantastic, it's like sugar, you eat it more, you will get this. If you do it normally, you'll get glucose. So, but as an artist, I think I believe in finding interesting hybrids. I believe in finding certain, negotiated balances. I'm not against technology per se, but yes, it does take away the making part of something. Like you can click and it's going to give you art. You can click, it can give you an essay. It's going to take the making part of it. So the making part of it has to migrate to a more personal space. So making art should be a personalized activity. Perhaps it may not give you a job, but just play music for the sake of it, but go and embrace the challenge of learning an instrument and play a few songs and connect with whatever comes on that journey. And I think the making aspect, which is getting shortened and shortened because of the use of AI, it has to migrate to a more personal space. Probably even education should adopt that and let that exist in that space, right? Perhaps not in a professional space.
And the God energy?
The hearts are open because for anyone who has a lot of love, जिसके अंदर बहुत प्रेम होगा वो दिल से बांटेगा ही उसको. So their hearts are open because they are listening to the voice of the heart. It's the anahata, the sound of silence. When you listen to your intuition in a challenging time, when you cut down your own noise and you listen to everything else, in that moment you're connected. That's why their hearts are open.
Your hearts are open. Ladies and gentlemen, Abhishek Singh. For anybody who wants to know more about Abhishek's work or acquire anything, Anubhav is here. Abhishek is very particular about who is able to keep any of his work, and I know that because we've had this conversation before, but please feel free. Anubhav, wave to everybody so that everybody knows where you are. Thank you so much, and thank you, Abhishek.
Yeah.